It took just 24 hours. One day, Caitlin Clark was a rookie grinding through her first season. The next day, she was gone. Not injured, not traded, not suspended, just gone. What made it stranger was the silence. Calls weren't returned. Interviews were canceled. League sources suddenly had no comment. And when that happens, it usually means one thing. Something big happened behind closed doors. Because stars don't disappear overnight, unless someone with real power makes a move. It started quietly, the way the most dangerous stories always do. No breaking news. No viral tweet. Just a late-night phone call. An NBC Sports producer reached out, not for a guest appearance, not for a short feature, but for something permanent. Primetime NBA coverage. National television. Millions of viewers. And here's the part nobody could believe. They didn't call a legend. They didn't call a retired superstar or a coach. They called Caitlin Clark a rookie. A first-year player, barely months into the league. And NBC said, "We want her now."
Or it got started, lost the first game, won the next two. I don't know how you technically spin that. I mean, if it's a series, she won it, but she lost the first game, as she lamented. But nonetheless, she gets out there and gets on the broadcast and speaks on a myriad of issues, but she's funny. Obviously, Caitlin Clark has a good sense of humor. We've seen that over the years, and she pointed out one of the most notable things on the broadcast, which is the height disparity between her and Reggie Miller and Carmelo Anthony on the broadcast, which was the height disparity between her and the NBA players on set. I'm going to wear stilts next time you see her there with Carmelo and Reggie Miller. And that's with Reggie Miller saying he's the third best shooter in the state of Indiana right now.
There's a new, first of all,
not the league. Her.
That wasn't hype. That was leverage. And leverage changes everything. What fans rarely see is how leagues really work. Control the schedule. Control the exposure. Control who becomes famous and who doesn't. But when a major network bypasses the system and calls a player directly, that control starts to crack. Inside league offices, insiders say the reaction wasn't excitement. It was silence. The uncomfortable kind. The kind where everyone is thinking the same thing, but nobody wants to say it out loud. How do we lose control? For years, the rule was simple. Media went through the league. Opportunities went through the league. Players waited their turn. Caitlin Clark didn't wait. She skipped the line. And when someone skips the line, especially someone young, people get angry.
It goes Caitlin, yeah, Tyrese, and now myself.
We'll have to get Tyrese's opinion on that. I'm not sure Tyrese would agree.
So there you go. Caitlin talking about that, poking fun at the appearance. That was one of the first things that stood out. Then there is the important question, which came later in the broadcast about the CBA. And one thing you have to like about it is Caitlin Clark was confident in her answer about that going into this make or break meeting on Monday.
The biggest moments the WNBA has ever seen. Looking forward into the future, what would you like to see happen as you come to a negotiation?
Well, honestly, I don't think it's just a big moment for the WNBA. I think all of women's sports, I think this is one of the biggest moments we've ever had. So, I feel very confident that we're going to get something done. And that's because we're in this moment because of the product we put on the floor. So we need to be able to continue to do that. And I know everybody's working really hard for this meeting tomorrow. That's super important. And I truly do believe we're going to get something done here in the next couple of weeks.
Noticed at first. Reporters who used to crowd their lockers suddenly disappeared, waiting outside one door instead. Sponsors stopped asking about teams and started asking about Caitlin's schedule. TV promos weren't selling matchups anymore. They were selling her. It stopped feeling like a league. It started feeling like the Caitlin Clark show. That's when jealousy crept in, not loudly, but quietly. Little comments. Side jokes. She's everywhere lately. They're forcing her on us. Let's see how long it lasts. But the numbers didn't lie. Games she played sold out. Games she missed dropped fast. Ratings doubled when she showed up and fell when she didn't. That's not popularity. That's dependency. And dependency terrifies organizations because when fans follow one person more than the logo loses power.
No more iconic figure in basketball in the women's game right now, or the game in general. So we said, let's have a bigger conversation. And it's just so crazy that it feels like every other sport will just come out and say what it is besides the WNBA. The NBA is not scared to acknowledge that there's no more iconic figure in basketball. Not just the women's game, but possibly the game in general than Caitlin Clark. But we would not hear that in the WNBA space. We wouldn't hear that from WNBA media. But the NBA media and the NBA and the league itself is not scared to say it. Like we've seen it when Caitlin does golf events. It just seems like every league but her own is not scared to say the truth. But I do think it's really
ESPN had the first shot. Meetings happened. Conversations were held. Then hesitation. Evaluation. Waiting. A classic corporate mistake. NBC didn't wait. They moved fast. One decision. One contract.
Done.
And just like that, ESPN wasn't leading the story. They were chasing it. In business, losing hurts. But missing hurts worse, because you had the chance and let it slip. When NBC announced Caitlin Clark internally, insiders say the mood flipped. Producers celebrated. Marketing teams lit up. Because they knew something the league didn't want to admit. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player. She was attention. And attention equals money. Millions of dollars.
One day,
we have to talk to Matt Adam about that.
Can we make it mellow? Honestly, if there's someone,
even if it's a preseason game, we got to get it done. I don't think the Liberty will want to move a game over here, but we'll play anybody. That'll be fun.
Yeah. How could you describe maybe the atmosphere your first time in it?
Well, I think as a player, like this is kind of when you feel the atmosphere the most is when you're out on the court warming up. So, I mean, there's just a different type of buzz. And obviously when LeBron comes to town, it's probably really different. But, you know, Knicks fans are crazy and I love it. I love people that are passionate about basketball. So it's pretty incredible.
So, you know, Caitlin Clark saying she wants a fever game at Madison Square Garden. That would be nice, right? That would be an event. But I think Fever fans just want to see Caitlin Clark in a game, period. They just want to see a WNBA season. They just want to see her back on the floor healthy. It doesn't matter what arena it is, what venue, home, road. The biggest thing is Caitlin Clark being back playing basketball and healthy. But, you know, her crack there was good too.
When she walked into the studio for the first time, she didn't look nervous. She looked comfortable, like she belonged. Breaking down NBA plays. Calling out defensive rotations. Talking to veterans as an equal, not a guest. Not a rookie, a voice. An authority. And viewers felt it immediately. Clips exploded online. Not highlights. Not three-pointers. Just her talking basketball. Millions watching a rookie analyze the game. That's when the league realized something painful. She wasn't growing inside their system anymore. She was growing outside it. And outside growth can't be controlled. When the spotlight follows you, you don't need permission. You don't need approval. You have options. And players with options don't beg. They choose.
He makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not that easy.
Yeah, he is coming off a triple-double. You got that right. And
so, you know, that's funny because the reason I said it could make some people mad, Stephanie White had notably on a broadcast talked about how I think it was when Luka was back on the Mavericks, they in a way played, you know, faster and more together, or the ball popped more. And I think that's what it was. The ball moved more without Luka out there. So Clark referencing Luka with some of the stuff around her and Stephanie White, you know, and the butting heads narratives from last year will be amusing. But, you know, again, Caitlin Clark just playing basketball is important.
Now imagine being an owner who publicly said, "We don't need one player." Then that same player shows up on national NBA television pulling bigger numbers than your games. That's not awkward. That's embarrassing. Fans noticed. They started asking questions. If she's this big, why did the league downplay her? Why act like she wasn't important? And the narrative flipped. It wasn't she needs the league anymore. It became the league needs her. Then came a surprise voice, Sophie Cunningham. No shade. No rivalry. Just praise. She said Caitlin deserved it. Said it was good for women's basketball. And that hit harder than criticism ever could. Because when competitors admit it, the argument is over.
Like, I can just tell how much my body's changed, but I think in a good way. Like, you have to be stronger. It's a much more physical league. So I think that, and then obviously I only appeared in 13 games last year. So more than anything, I'm just itching to get back out on the court and kind of feel like myself again. And I've been putting in a lot of hard work, and I got USA basketball coming up. So looking forward to that too.
Yeah, I was happy to see. Yes.
Yes, sir, Reg.
Reggie Miller, a big Fever fan. And obviously, I think Caitlin Clark fans had to be satisfied with that. Anybody, had to be impressed with her chops in her debut broadcast, and a bevy of topics there. The important one, a little lighthearted stuff. And overall, I think
rooms changed. Less joking, more tension, because deep down, everyone knew the truth. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a star. She was becoming something rarer, a cultural moment. Moments like that can't be manufactured. They show up once a decade. And when they do, leagues have two choices: build around them or get left behind. Every time NBC put her on screen, it felt bigger than anything else happening. Bigger reach, bigger impact. While regular games quietly returned to normal numbers, the contrast exposed everything. The realization spread quietly. We can't contain her. We can't define her. We can't control her. And when a player reaches that point, history says only one thing: they're not just a star. They're a force. Forces don't ask. They change everything. And if this is only year one, nobody is ready for what comes next.